Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the SMS webinar. My name is Pedro Batista, and I will be conducting this session. Before we can actually start, I would just like to go through the personal data protection notice. As usual with the SPOR webinars, this session will be recorded and will be made available in the EMA website and YouTube channel. Through the session, participants can ask questions via Slido, and this is voluntarily, and you can choose to remain anonymous. If you choose to use Slido, then you consent to process your personal data as explained by our data privacy statement. Then to use Slido, you can scan this QR code that you can see on the screen, or you can connect to Slido website and input this code that you can see on the top left side. You can send questions or upvote already existing questions. I'd just like to ask you to have a look if your question has already been raised before, and do not raise it again, and instead vote for it. The questions will be managed live through this session, and my colleagues will try to address them in writing through the presentation, and the top voted unanswered questions will then be answered live by me in the end of the presentation. It might happen that due to a high volume of questions or assistance from a specific colleague that is not available today, and some questions might not be replied today, and in this case, they will all be reviewed, and the most relevant ones will be addressed either in other webinars or in the FAQ document. We might also ask you to create a ticket via service desk for specific issues in case we need to conduct an in-depth investigation or assign it to a different team. The presentation will be available in the SPOR portal in the document section, as well as on EMA events webpage. And the recording of this webinar will be available in the YouTube channel and also in the EMA events page. So we can now start. So this webinar is on SMS, and it's part of our sequence of SPOR webinars that has started last week on Friday with a webinar on data governance, continued yesterday with a webinar on RMS. Then for tomorrow, you can have the webinar on OMS, then followed by 2 webinars on XCV-MPD, one for marketing authorization holders, the other for sponsors. And this series of webinars will conclude next week on Monday with a webinar on the SPOR API. So the goals of today's session is to increase awareness of all the activities that we have been done in SMS, and to share updates more relevant to you of the outcomes of these exercises. So in terms of agenda, I will start with a general introduction to SMS. Then I will describe the SMS processes and then focus in the data services that we provide and also the change request process. I'll briefly cover some statistics and documentation and where you can find help. Then there will be a small break. So for now, it's foreseen to be 15 minutes, but I will see how it goes during the presentation, and this might be adjusted slightly. After the break, we will have the status update of the latest changes in SMS, key takeaways and conclusions, and then we will have the usual Q&A session. So, starting with the introduction to SMS. So here you can see the SMS and its main components around it. So starting from the top, we have EMA Service Desk. So this is your way of interacting with us. So either via change request or customer services in case you have any questions. So based on these tickets that are created in Service Desk, then there's data management activities performed by the SMS data stewards in SMS itself. From SMS, there's then alignment of data and some semi-automatic synchronization with USRS done by the substance validation group. From SMS, there's also a connection to Power BI, which we use for reporting and monitoring data quality of the substance records in SMS. And then going down, we have several ways for data access of substances. So you can search and browse substances in the Iris user interface. You can download the substance list in the SPOR portal through CSV exports, and you can access the data from SMS also via the SMS API. And from here, the data is also made available in several consuming systems that you can also use to access substance data. So I will be covering in detail all of these systems in the next slides. So starting with USRS. So we have two systems to manage substance data, SMS and USRS. So in terms of purpose, SMS is a central source of substances to support its selection in regulatory procedures and allows the distinction between two or more substances. While USRS provides a source of substance data that supports the scientific identification and characterization of substances. SMS is managed by EMA data stewards, which are specialized in data management, while USRS is managed by the substance validation group, which are substance experts from the NCAs. By using these both sets of different skills enables a better substance management. In terms of technology, USRS is an open source software that implements ISO IDMP logic and allows good quality scientific substance data. While SMS mainly benefits from years of integration into different regulatory procedures and systems in EMA. By using these both systems, it's a cost-effective way to manage and share substance data. It is very important to highlight that there is only one EU substance list. So the substances between SMS and USRS, they have the same ID, the SMS ID, and they are being aligned via data fixes or bulk batches of data. Real-time synchronization is desired, but this functionality still has to be prioritized in the network portfolio. SMS contains all the substances used in pharmaceutical products that are also available in USRS, but only contains a subset of the data fields from USRS. In terms of access, like I've mentioned before, the public data can be accessible via the SMS user interface in Iris, the substance exports in the SPOR portal, the SMS API, and the several consuming systems. USRS is currently only accessible to NCA users, and NCAs can request access via the EMA account management portal. Now, focusing on SMS in terms of data fields, starting with identifiers. So all substance records have a primary identifier, which is the SMS ID. And in the past, this was known as the UTCT ID. It's still the same code, it just has a new name since SMS went live. Then, in addition to the SMS ID, substances that have a domain human, they are synchronized to XCV-MPD, where they get also an EV code. In terms of mandatory data fields, so we have the domain, which can be human or veterinary, and human substances can be used in both human or veterinary products, while substances that are registered with the domain veterinary can exclusively be used in veterinary products. So this is a small subset of substances. Then in terms of status, so in SMS, unlike OMS and RMS, there's only two status, current and not current. And in the SPOR portal, we have one export for each of these status. Then we have the substance type. So the substance type is an important field for the SMS data stewards, but it has no impact on any regulatory application or in any consuming system. So it's mainly internal data fields for the data stewards. Then SMS contains many names. It contains one preferred term. It can contain several aliases, so synonyms in English, and translations in all EU languages. This information is also available in the export. Then each name will have a language. English names will have a name source, so this is where the substance name comes from. So if it comes from an INN, pharmacopoeia, or internal documents from a marketing authorization holder. And then a very important data field, data classification. And this data field can have the options of public or restricted. So if a name is registered as public, then it will be visible in the export and in all the consuming systems. If it is registered as restricted, then it is not available in the export nor any consuming system, and only the data stewards and NCAs can see this name. So this is used to maintain substance confidentiality. Then we have a series of optional data fields, such as molecular formula, molecular weight, and Inchi key. So these data fields are registered only for chemicals at the moment, and they are available in the export if the substance is public. Then we have two data fields that are important in the context of data cleansing. This is the comments, where we provide the replacement ID as free text, and the data field substance current, where the replacement ID is provided in a structured format. And then a recently added data field, which is the parent substance. So, for example, for codeine phosphate, it would have a parent record, codeine. So this has been registered for chemicals, for some proteins, and some nucleic acids. Then substances might have multiple additional substance codes. One of them is the UNI, so the unique ingredient identifier, which is the substance ID from FDA. So we always add this ID when it is available. Then we have the SVG cleansed flag, can be 0, can be 1, and I'll be talking about the cleansed flag later in this session. And two recently added codes, the INN number. So this is a code that is issued by WHO when a new INN is published. And also the EC list or number. So this is the substance number from the European Commission. Now, regarding the SMS API, so we have SMS API now available for all types of users, but with different access rights. So if you are an NCA user, then you can access all the substance data. If you have an industry user role, and this role can be used by all non-NCA users, so even external organizations, software vendors, so it doesn't need to be exactly an industry member, just an industry user role. So this role only allows access to the public substance data. And with the API, you can access all the data fields that are visible in the substance exports, the ones that I've mentioned in the previous slide. But in addition, it also allows access to custom attributes. And currently, we have two SMS custom attributes. The first one is flag if a substance is used as active in a human medicinal product approved in the EU or EA. And the second one is related to active substances from the Union list of critical medicines. So this has been a recent addition, and it is only available via the SMS API. Access to the API is managed via EMA account management, and you can find instructions in the SMS guidance for external users in section 4.3. If you would like more details on the SMS API, then I would strongly recommend you to join the SPOR API webinar that will happen next Monday. Now, regarding the substance exports that are available in the SPOR portal, so if you go to the SPOR portal and you click on the tab Substances, you don't need to log in, and you get this page, and here you have two hyperlinks, one for the list of current substances and another for the apologies, for the list of non-current substances. Both of these exports only contain public data, and they are refreshed on a daily basis. So every night these exports are updated based on all the changes that were done in SMS. Then another way to access data is via the user interface available in Iris. So for the moment, there's a limited number of data fields available. So we have the SMS ID, we have the substance preferred term, we have aliases, so the synonyms in English, we have the substance type and the domain. And you can make searches here. Again, you can only search for public substance names. And in the future, this user interface will be expanded with all the data fields from SMS. It will include also the translations, the external codes, but that functionality has not been prioritized yet. Now, going to the SMS consuming systems. So starting from left to right, SMS sends all substances to UPD, the Union Product Database, to manage veterinary products, which then makes them available in EVVET for veterinary safety reports. SMS also makes all substances available in IRIS, where they can be used for orphan designation, innovation task force, scientific advice, prime, and pediatric investigation plan. And from IRIS, they are now also made available in the PLM portal. Another recent addition is PMS. So PMS also gets data directly from SMS via the SMS API. And now you will notice a change in colors. So SMS sends human substances only to the EudraVigilance module for XCVMPD and the ICSR components, where they are used for the purposes of Article 57 submissions, ICSRs and SUSARs, and medical literature monitoring. From XCVMPD, the human substances are also made available in CTAS for clinical trial applications. I'm going back. Again, human substances only are made available in UDCT human, which then sends substances to UDRACT for the legacy clinical trials, to UDRA-GMTP for GMP certificates, and the EAF forms. It also makes substances available in SciMed, which is our internal system for centralized procedure, and also a few other regulatory procedures such as eligibility, ATMP classification certification, maximum residue limits, and Article 58 applications. Regarding the veterinary substances, the ones that have orange arrow, so they are made available in UDCT vet, which makes them available in the EAF marketing authorization application form, the variation form, and the renewal form. Then we can also see a dashed arrow going around. So there is no synchronization of veterinary substances to SciMed. So this is a manual alignment that is performed to ensure that veterinary substances are also made available in the system. Now, going to SMS processes. So there's many activities around SMS, and I'll start with the data stewardship activities. So these activities are done by EMA data stewards, and it can comprise change requests that are raised by external users, but also data services. So these are proactive activities that we perform for the benefit of the network, and they include data enrichments, data mappings, and simple data cleansing exercises. Then we also provide customer services. So these are the questions submitted to EMA Service Desk as requests for information. Then the business lead product owner, which is me, also has a series of additional responsibilities, such as ensuring quality control of all the activities that are performed in SMS. So this is done by sampling. Also monitoring the data with data quality profiles. I've mentioned in the beginning that we have several reports in Power BI to analyze these potential data quality issues. And based on the findings from quality control and data profiling, if there is any issue that is repeating or is very serious, then there is quality assurance where the root cause is investigated, and then the related processes are improved to prevent it from happening again. In terms of service management, so there is coordination with data governance and IT to develop new functionalities for SMS or to address any identified bug. There's also performance management of the SMS team, KPI reporting, and addressing customer satisfaction. Now, I will be going through the main SMS data services that we perform. So I mentioned already, we have the data mappings, data enrichments, and data cleansing. So starting with data mappings, so data mappings are exercises where we match substance data either from legacy EMA systems or external systems to SMS. And as a result, as an outcome of these, substances might have to be created or updated. This supports data migrations and implementation of SMS in other EMA systems, but also activities with other international organizations. Some examples of the completed data mappings were the mapping of veterinary NCA data that we have performed to support the UPD Go Live, mapping of the legacy orphan designation substances to onboard this regulatory procedure in IRIS, and also a mapping with the European Chemicals Agency for the substances that are relevant between EMA and ECHA. Then, in terms of data enrichments, so this is a proactive completion of substance records in SMS with external reference information. And we do this to improve the data quality in SMS and also to prevent substance change requests. So So we minimize the burden on industry or NCA users and also the data stewards, because these enrichments are done in bulk. So instead of addressing each substance individually, we address them all at once. And two good examples of these enrichments are the INN and USAN enrichments. So for the INN, every time a new list is published, we try to register all these names, and this is done 4 times a year, while for USAN, we do it upon publication of new USANs, which is usually once a month. Now, in terms of data cleansing, so this is an analysis that is performed in SMS data to try to identify and eliminate duplicates, but also to standardize the substance names against reference sources. And the benefit is also improving data quality and also preventing change requests from users. The cleansing of SMS data is being led by the Substance Validation Group, the SVG. At the moment, 45% of the substance records in SMS have been reviewed. These 45% of substances correspond to 100% of the active substances in veterinary products and 82% of the substances used in human authorized products. And in this slide, you can see an overview of the cleansing status by substance type. You can see that it differs considerably across all the types, with the chemicals being 100% reviewed and the specified substance group 3 almost fully reviewed as well. Then at a different level, we have the vaccines at 56%, and this is because all veterinary vaccines have been cleansed, but the human vaccines are still ongoing. So we expect to increase these numbers considerably in the coming months. Then we have polymers and mixtures. So only a smaller percentage of these records are cleansed, but the ones cleansed are the ones most commonly used in products. And then the other substance types, they have a lower cleansing percentage. So these records have not been fully started yet, but we are working on that. And now, so this is a very busy slide with many different scenarios. So I will try to explain it slowly to cover all the different options. This data flow will be included in the SMS guidance, and there will be a text explanation of everything that I will be saying here today. So I will be covering the scenarios from left to right, and I will be following the questions to reach these scenarios accordingly. So the goal of this is to explain all the different cleansing scenarios and the reasons behind it, and also what we would like to have as follow-up actions from stakeholders and what we are planning to do with these substance records in the long term. So, starting with the substance record, assuming the SVG review has started and has been completed, and it is a valid record, So with this, we are now in scenario 1. So this is the happy scenario. So these are substances that have status current. They do not have any comments. They have a SVG flag 1, highlighting that it is a valid record. There's no actions required from stakeholders, and these are stable records that can be used in any consuming system. Now, going back to the top. So another possible scenario is where the SVG review has not yet started, and that will bring us to scenario 2. So these substances are also current. They also do not have a comment, but they do not have an SVG flag. And for the moment, no action is required. And once these substances are reviewed, they will get SVG flag 1. So they will go to scenario 1, or they will get an SVG flag 0, and they will go to this red box that I will be covering soon. Now, starting again from the top, SVG review has started. However, the review was not completed. So this is a special scenario. These substances are also current, and they have a common European pharmacopoeia mismatch, and they have no SVG flag. So this only affects a very small number of substance records, and the reason for this is there is a mismatch in the European pharmacopoeia between the substance name that is in the title and the substance that is in the definition. So the title might point to an anhydrous substance, and then the definition might point to a hydrated substance. So it's not very clear what the substance is, and we are legally bound to use the name from the pharmacopoeia, but we cannot consider this record fully reviewed until this mismatch is addressed. So the SVG is liaising with EDQM and to try to get these monographs more clear. And for the moment, no action is required, so these substance records can still be used. And once this mismatch is addressed in the pharmacopoeia, then the substances will be reviewed and get SVG flag 1 or 0. Now, starting again, SVG review has started, has been completed, and the record is not valid, but it is needed for pharmacovigilance or legacy products. So this is again another special scenario that only affects a small number of substances. And this scenario 4, they have status current, they have comment unspecified, and they have an SVG flag 0. So these are substances that are very general, and they should not be used in principle, but some products were already approved with this substance, and it's in some cases it might not be possible to find a more specific substance. So if it is a legacy product and you cannot find a more specific substance, then you can keep using it. And in terms of long-term vision, we plan in the future to make some technical changes in consuming systems, especially in XCV-MPD, to ensure that these substances can only be used for these legacy products and cannot be used for new products. So if it is a product not yet approved, then a more specific replacement substance should be selected. And if you are not sure which one should be used, then please create a ticket. Now, going back, so substances with a review completed and that are not valid records. And now the main decision point is if these records are linked to products in XCV MPD or not, because it is not technically possible to nullify a substance that is linked to a product in XCV MPD. So this is why we need to make this distinction that will lead to the red box or to the gray box. So if it is linked to products, then the substance cannot be nullified, so the status will remain as current for now. And then if there is a one-to-one replacement not possible, then the substances will get a comment invalid and SVG flag 0. Again, the invalid scenario is not very common, so it usually is because the substance is completely wrong and we cannot identify a correct replacement. It should have never been registered, or there might be multiple substances in the same record, and then it will be a split into multiple substance records. So if you do have a substance that has a comment invalid, you should try to find a suitable replacement for your specific product, which might be different for another product. And again, if you aren't sure, then please create a ticket and we will assist you. If a one-to-one replacement is possible, then these substances get a comment duplicate, and we also include the SMS ID and the EV code, also the SVG flag 0. So in this case, you should use the replacement substance provided in your products. Both the invalid and the duplicates with SVG flag 0 and status current, eventually they will become non-current when all the products have been relinked. Then, going back just to the link products to XCV MPD. So if there were no link products in XCV MPD, then the substance has already been nullified, so it has been made non-current. And we have again the same split of the one-to-one replacement. If it is not possible, then they have a comment invalid. And if it is possible, then they have a comment duplicate. Then the actions are slightly different depending if you are a web user or a gateway user. So if you have users, don't have to do anything because the substance is non-current. It cannot be used in IFWeb anymore. For gateway users, they might need to update the substance record in their own systems. And for the invalid, a more specific substance should be selected. Again, if not sure, create a ticket. For the duplicates, then you have the replacement substance already. So to summarize, the scenarios on the extremities are stable scenarios. So on the left side, the green one, it's the happy scenario, stable records that can be used without any restriction. On the right side, the gray box, so it's stable records that cannot be used in any system. The scenarios in red is a temporary status, so eventually the majority of the substances will move to this gray box. So once all the products have been relinked, these substances will also be made non-current. The yellow box is also a temporary scenario where we hope that most substances will move to the green box once they are reviewed and deemed valid, but there's going to be some that will then temporarily move to the red box and then later to the gray box. Now, in terms of follow-up actions related to cleansing. So I'll start first with the duplicates that have the SVG flag 0. So by adding this SVG flag 0, we make these substances automatically not available in EAF and UPD for new products, but we cannot make them restricted use in XCV-MPD technically. It is also technically not possible to show this comment duplicate or the SVG flag 0 in XCV-MPD in the product view. So if you are looking at substances, then you can see the comment duplicate, but then if you are managing your product, then you cannot see this comment anymore. So we understand that this is challenging to maintain and correct in XCV-MPD. So what we are doing is preparing a data fix to relink all the products in XCV-MPD and now in PMS as well to a replacement substance. So we will address these duplicates in your behalf. Optionally, marketing authorization holders can already update their products by following the guidance from the previous slide that will also be included in the guidance for external users, but this is optional. So if you want to correct them now, you can, but you can also wait for this data fix. Then next year, once we have prepared everything for this data fix, we'll provide an export of the impacted products and substances. So we'll provide the respective product EV codes and substance EV codes, changing from this substance to this substance. It is important that the gateway users also update their systems with the replacement substance provided. So if you have users, will just have their products updated and can continue normally, but gateway users need to ensure that the substances are also correctly updated in their systems. Otherwise, when making a submission, you will get a negative acknowledgement because the substance has then been nullified. And we'll then perform this data fix, and after no products are linked to these substances, then we will nullify them all, and they will get the status non-current, and they will go to the gray box scenario. Then another change outstanding that I didn't mention in the previous slide is around preferred terms. So the SVG has identified that some substances do not have a correct preferred term. However, changing this preferred term has an impact on ICSR recoding. So what we are doing is performing some technical changes in the ICSR recoding algorithm so that it's not impacted by this exercise. And then after this is completed, then we can update the substance preferred terms as per the recommendation of the SVG. It is very important to highlight that these changes that we have already performed and the changes that we will perform in the future around the preferred term do not require marketing authorization holders to change their SMPC or the dossier to align the substances to SMS. So the name in SMS does not need to be exactly the same as the name that is being used in the SMPC or in any other documents. So the names, assuming that the correct substance has been selected, then the substance names are considered equivalent, and it is not required to change documentation. And then lastly, the substances that have SVG flag 0 and comment invalid or unspecified. So like I've mentioned already, so this is a small subset of records. This is a complex scenario that it will depend many times on a product by product analysis, and we aim to tackle this in the end of next year. So first, we want to cover the duplicates. After the duplicates are addressed, then we will start focusing on the invalid and unspecified. So for the moment, do not worry too much about the substance records. The priority is to address the duplicates. Now going through the SMS change request process. So there's 3 phases in this process. So we have the submission, the validation by data stewards, and then an approval or a rejection. So the submission is done by the requester, which can be you. And ideally, it should start with reading any relevant section of the guidance for external users that is available in the SPOR portal. Then the change request is to be submitted in the EMA service desk to either create or update the substance. And the substance request form and supporting documentation should always be included. Then, in terms of validation, once we receive this change request, EMA data stewards will analyze your request, taking into account the SVG data management manuals and any relevant sources of information. And the change request will then be approved or rejected, depending if the substance is already registered, the substance is valid or not, taking into account our SLAs. So our SLA for new substances is 5 to 10 working days. Our SLAs for translations is 10 to 15 working days. However, this is only applicable to requests with less than 20 substances. If more than 20 substances, then there is not a guaranteed SLA. If the change request is approved, then the substance is made available, or the changes in this already existing substance is made available in all consuming systems. If it is rejected, then the requester will be informed why, and usually will provide alternative substance ID to be used. Then the new substances that are being created, they are created with a higher data quality based on the business rules defined by the SVG. The newly created substances might eventually be reviewed by the SVG in the future, but the current focus is on the legacy data. Then In EMA Service Desk, you have this form request SMS services. Once you click on it, you'll be brought to this form where you will need to fill the subject. So you can mention if it's a new substance or an updated substance. The description, you can provide some reasoning to create the substance, or if it is an update, you can provide the SMS ID or the EV code that you would like to have updated. And then another mandatory field is the request type. So this is very important to be populated correctly because different regulatory procedures, they have different naming rules around it. So to ensure that the substance is correctly registered, you should select the correct regulatory procedure in cause. Then you should attach the substance request form and supporting documentation defining the substance nomenclature or structure. Now, in terms of the substance request form, so you can see it here. I have 3 examples of a populated request form. And it is very important to have at least one name in this form set as public, because each substance must have a public name, and the preferred term is always public. It's also important to be aware that official names such as INN, USAN, pharmacopoeia names are always public. And the preferred term, so it's not available in the form, so the preferred term is selected by the SMS data stewards, taking into account the business rules for that specific substance type. Also, the proposed INN or USAN, if available, they cannot be used as substance preferred term. They can only be registered as alias. And for certain procedures, such as orphan designation, pediatric investigation plan, marketing authorization application, they cannot have a company code as the substance preferred term. So that is why I mentioned in the previous slide that it's important to select the correct regulatory procedure, because then it can impact the registration of the substance. And here you can see an example of a fake chemical substance for clinical trials. So we have here the chemical name, which again is not a real substance, that is been asked to be registered as restricted, and then we have a company code that is being asked to be registered as public. And in this case, because it's for clinical trials, so we'll select the company code as the preferred term, which is public, and then we'll register the chemical name as restricted, so it will not be visible in any consuming system. Now we have an example of a protein for orphan designation, and we have a series of names provided here. So we have a proposed INN, we have a common name, we have a company code, and then another company code. So proposed INNs cannot be used as preferred term. Company codes cannot be used as preferred term in the context of an orphan designation. So in this case, the common name will be the substance preferred term. And in the case that there is not a common name provided, then we will define a common name based on the documentation provided by the applicant. And the last example is a cell therapy substance for marketing authorization application. So in this case, the substance is more well-known, it's more developed, and a recommended INN is already available. There's also a common name provided and a company code, but there is a recommended INN, so that will be the preferred term selected in this case. Now, going to statistics, I will be brief here. So, as you can see, for the past years, we have been having an increasing trend in change requests. And if we analyze the first half of this year, so we already got more requests than the first half of 2023. So if this trend continues for the second half of the year, then 2024 will also have more change requests than 2023. However, despite this increase in the previous years in terms of change requests of substances, our compliance of the SLAs has remained almost 100% in the past years. Now, in terms of documentation and any help that you can have, in the SPOR portal, the latest edition was the SMS guidance for external users. You can also download the substance experts that I've already mentioned, and you also have customer satisfaction surveys and our SLAs. You can find the previous SMS webinars in the EMA YouTube channel. All the webinars that have been done in the past can be found there. In EMA Service Desk, you can create change requests, you can create questions, and you can find the substance request form there as well. Related to the substance validation group, so you can find the USRS webinar in the EU Network Training Center portal. However, this is only available for NCAs, since only NCAs can access USRS. Other users can go to the HMA SVG page or the Unicom SVG documents that were already published. In the EMA corporate website, you can find the SPOR vision and related information and documents around SPOR. And in the EMA account management, you can access, can request access to API or to USRS, again, if you are an NCA user. And I've mentioned the guidance a few times, so you can find the guidance in the SPOR portal in the tab Substances. Again, no login is required, so you just click on this hyperlink and it will bring you to the current version of this guidance. There is a new version coming soon, but what you can see here is version 1. And it is now time for the break. We are running a bit late, so it's now 10 past 11, so maybe we can have a 10-minute break until 20 past 11. So I will see you soon. Okay, welcome back. So I will start with a second part of the webinar. And I'll be giving you an update on the latest and planned activities on SMS. So, as continuous activities that we perform. We have the data enrichments that I have mentioned a few times already. So on INNs, USANs, but also on UNI, so the FDA substance identifier, and also enrichments from the new versions of the European Pharmacopoeia. We are always constantly improving our data quality profiles and adding more. And in terms of data cleansing, so we have recently completed cleansing of specified substance group 1 for solutions, and the vast majority of specified substances group 3. We have also started the cleansing of human vaccines, and that will continue over the coming months. We have completed the cleansing of substances from the critical list of human medicines. The majority has already been cleansed, and a few more will be addressed in the coming months. We have starting addressing the duplicates for quite some months ago, but this is a very complex exercise, and it will continue through half of next year. Then in terms of documentation, so we have been working on version 2 of the guidance that we are planning to publish soon, and once that is done, we will start working on guidance 3. So we have also conducted several webinars, and in the end of this year, we will run again our yearly customer satisfaction survey, where we gather your feedback. So when you do receive the invitation for this, please do it, because this information is very valuable for us. And then next year, we'll continue with the SPOR general update webinars. Now, I will focus on the main activities that we have completed in the last quarter, so around the specified substances. So for specified substance group 1, we have addressed solutions that have defined concentration in the substance preferred term. So the cleansing in SMS has been completed, and new records with this defined concentration will only be registered if present in the European Pharmacopoeia. Then on specified substance group 3, so substances that have a Pharmacopoeia reference in the preferred term, we have also completed them, and a decision has been made to not create these substance records with a Pharmacopoeia reference in the name, since they don't bring any additional value, so we have considered them as duplicates. Further details on these business rules will be included in the version 2 of the SMS guidance that will be published soon. Then, in terms of the substances from the critical medicines list, so the majority have been cleansed, so almost 80%, and the cleansing is ongoing for the remaining substances, which are mainly the human vaccines. And we expect to complete this exercise by the end of the year. So after this, we will have a reliable and stable list of active substances from the critical medicines list. Now, in terms of what will be done this quarter, so we have worked quite a lot on this version 2 of the SMS guidance together with the SPOR key user group. And this new version will include business rules for the different substance classes, including the latest changes around the solutions from specified substance group 1 and overall the cleansing from the group 3. It will also include a section around data cleansing guidance, so that complex flowchart that I presented, it will be included there with detailed information of what each of the scenarios mean and what you should do. And also it will include information on the data quality monitoring, so those data quality profiles that we have and what we do with them in order to maintain and improve data quality. Then I've mentioned already the human vaccines, so this is the next big priority with the SVG. So the cleansing is ongoing. The vaccines related to the critical list of medicines are being prioritized, and the remaining vaccines will be addressed later. And then the duplicates cleansing. So we had already provided communication in July to marketing authorization holders in NCAs. And again, you can already update your products with a replacement substance provided, but this is optional because next year we will do this data fix to relink all the products to the replacement substance. So again, if you do want to be proactive and do this before, you can do it, but if not, if it's too complex, too cumbersome, then you can choose not to do it, and we will do it on your behalf next year. And with this data fix, then we expect to address at least 60% of the already identified duplicates, maybe more if it is technically possible. So to summarize all the changes that have happened in the past quarters, so we did publish version 1 of the guidance in the beginning of the year. We made the SMS API available not only to NCAs, but also to industry users or any type of users. We added several new data fields in the export and in the API, such as molecular weight, INN codes, the EC number from the European Commission, and the parent substance, so the relationship salt to parent or solvate to parent. We also added 2 custom attributes for active substances and related to the critical medicines list, and this is available only in the API. And we addressed several groups of substances with data cleansing. So we addressed the development substances in the beginning of the year, the critical medicines that we have covered most of them, the specified substance group 1 that are solutions, and also the group 3. What we are doing now is preparing the publication of the version 2 of the guidance with a focus on business rules and data cleansing and data quality, and completing the cleansing of the critical medicines list, so the small percentage that it's outstanding. After that, we'll fully focus on human vaccines, and next year, then we will address the big topic of substance confidentiality in version 3 of the guidance, and we will perform the data fix and the related activities around the cleansing of substances with SVG flag 0. So, to conclude, our change requests and customer services are in place and they have an excellent performance. We have made the SMS API available to all users. We improved the substance export with additional data fields. We will have a new version of the guidance being published soon. We cleansed most of the active substances from critical medicines, and we plan to complete it soon. And we have informed you on the actions around data cleansing that, again, are optional for you. And if you do not do it, then we do it on your behalf next year. And this concludes my presentation for today. As usual, with SPOR webinars, we have now a short quiz for you. So I will be sharing it soon. So if you can all join Slido, then the quiz will be visible soon.
Pedro, can you please switch to the quiz in Slido? Oh, you have? Okay. Thank you. We wait for the participants to join. And we start in a couple of seconds. We still have people joining, so I'll give it a couple more seconds so nobody misses the questions. Okay, I'm starting.
Thank you. So the first question is, how many preferred terms can a substance have? 0, 1, 2, or depends on the regulatory procedure? So almost everyone got it right. So each substance has only one preferred term, and this is independent of the regulatory procedure. And Hamrit is the current leader. Let's see what happens in the next question. When is the use of a company code as preferred term not allowed? Clinical trial, scientific advice, orphan designation, or never? So the correct option is orphan designation. So clinical trials and scientific advice can have a company code as preferred term, but not orphan designation, nor, for example, pediatric investigation plan. And Amrit is still winning. So let's see the next question. which substance data is always made public? The EV code, the substance status, the preferred term, or all of the above? Very good. Most of you got it correct. So all of these data fields are always public. So the EV code is publicly visible in XCV MPD and in the export. The status is also publicly visible, and the preferred term is the name that is always public. So there always needs to be one public name, and the preferred term that is only one preferred term is also always public. Then
Got the leaderboard for the previous question,
it's
so
okay.
I'm sorry.
How can an industry user currently access all public substance data? SMS API, substance export, XCV MPD, or Iris? This was a tricky question. So the substance export in the SPOR portal contains almost all the public data except the custom attributes that I have mentioned, the active substance and critical medicines. So these custom attributes are only available in the API. And we have now a new leader. So, final question. Which substance records should not be used in products in XCV MPD without SVG flag and without comments, or without SVG flag and comment pharmacopoeia mismatch, records with SVG flag 1 or SVG flag 0 and comment duplicate? Very good. So most of you got it correct. So the first option are substances not yet reviewed. They can be used. The second option, substances that have been partially reviewed, but they can be used. The third option is the fully reviewed that are valid. And the last option is the identified duplicates that should not be used. So we'll see who is the final winner. And congratulations, it's actually a tie between JJ and Amrit, both with 51 seconds. So congratulations to both of you. And we'll start now with the questions. When you plan to finish with the data cleanup for substances, because this activity has major impact to marketing authorization holders' data. So this exercise has started for a few years, and we are currently at 45%, but this 45% correspond to most of the substances used in human products. So I cannot provide you an exact date at this moment. It depends on the impacts of this cleansing in the consuming systems. So we always need to plan if this is going to impact XCV MPD, UPD, and mitigate the impacts on these systems, but also depends on the resources, both on SMS side and SVG side. So there is not a foreseen date to complete this exercise, but we are prioritizing the substances that are linked to approved products to ensure that these ones are completed as soon as possible, and then we will start addressing the remaining ones that are not linked to approved products. Then next question, We are in the process to align the substances in SMPC section 6.1 in different countries for nationally approved products to align with Module 3. Could we already start correcting XCV and PD before adding the correct substance terms in the SMPC, or we should submit additional attachment document? So you can make corrections in XCV and PD already. So I suppose this might be about the duplicates, so you can refer to the replacement substance provided, or in the case of unspecified substances, then you can refer to a more specific substance if you are able to identify it in the context of your product. Then next question, how the preferred term is chosen. Often pharmacopoeia European terms are marked as synonyms, but we should always prefer pharmacopoeia terms, whether and when the priority terms are going to be exchanged to pharmacopoeia terms. Then you are right. So the European pharmacopoeia is our top source when defining a preferred term. But like I've mentioned, we have pending changes to be performed in substance preferred terms, because changing the preferred term of old substance has an impact on ICSR recoding. So that's why you do see some substances with a pharmacopoeia term as a synonym. But if you look at the source, they will have a named source substance validation group. So this means that that is the correct preferred term. And we want to make it the preferred term in the future, but we need to wait first for the ICSR recoding algorithm to be modified so that we can change these preferred terms in SMS without compromising pharmacovigilance activities. Then for variations to update to QRD version 9 template, is it mandatory to use only the exact names for substances as per SMS database in the QRD? This is not mentioned, but agencies are often requesting to update the name of the active substance in the product information. So this is not mandatory. So for legacy products, you don't have to proactively submit a variation to align the name in your documentation to SMS. For new products, you should use the names from SMS, especially if the substance record has already been reviewed by the SVG. Then when requesting new substances, we also need to provide documentation of the substance, example, investigation brochure, SMPC. They are not finalized documents at the time. Do you have other examples of exactly was it required to provide as documentation? So even if your documentation is not fully completed, we do accept draft versions of these documents, or you can send any other document that defines the structure and nomenclature of the concerned substance. So we are very flexible with the documentation that we accept. The next question, if the substance is changed in SMS, the name of the preferred term is exchanged, does the SMS ID remain the same or does it change? So the SMS ID in a record never changes. So if we update the preferred term, the substance record is still the same record. So the SMS ID and the EV code, if it's a human substance, will remain the same. why you do not allow to replace substances with SVG flag 0 and comment and specify if marketing authorization provide additional data from M3 module 3 and demonstrate that this is correct substance. Not sure if I fully understand this question. So that should be the action from the marketing authorization holders, is to refer to these more specific substances. But maybe you can create a ticket in EMA service desk with a specific case of your product and the concerned substances, and then we can further assist you in your specific case. You stated that the name in the SMPC does not have to be the same as the preferred term in SMS. What decides which name that should be given in the SMPC? Should the preferred term in SMS be used for new applications? So for new applications, the substance preferred term from SMS from the records cleansed should be selected as the preferred term. In other cases, the final decision is always by the NCA or the committee approving the product. If the SVG flag 0 and is present in the latest SMPC, then what the marketing authorization holder should do. So if it is a duplicate, then you can replace it with a provided replacement substance. If it is one of the other scenarios, then it will depend on a case-by-case approach, and you can always create a ticket to request specific advice for your case. Change of preferred term. Marketing authorization holder does not have to change SMPC dossier. Is it necessary that the SMPC is revised with the next variation? So if you choose to do so, then great, to align the SMPC substance names with the already cleansed records, but this is not mandatory. Where can I find the information that the naming of active substance and excipients can differ between use terms in RIMS and the SMPC? As in SMPC, mostly all terms are used. What is the timeline for updating SMPC to be in line with SPOR SMS terms? So there is no timeline for this. It's just a recommendation that you should use, should refer to the most correct name in SMS. But this is mainly in terms of substance records in product records. So the most important thing is to ensure that your product is linked to the correct substance. The documentation, we don't have a way to link it at the moment, so you can choose to follow the preferred term in SMS, but yeah, there's no timelines around this. When the lists of herbal and homeopathic substance will be available in the systems, will the substance terms will be replaced automatically in the composition of each product in PMS, or should the marketing authorization holders will have to do all replacements in XCV-MPD? So it's going to be the same process for all substances with SVG flag 0. So we do expect, mainly in the homeopathics, that there is going to be duplicates, maybe a bit less in the herbals, and this data fix that I've mentioned will, even if not next year for homeopathics, then the year after. So we know that we will have to do several data fixes in the future. So once the homeopathics and herbals are cleansed and duplicates are identified, then we can do that data fix in your behalf, so you don't have to update all the products, because in the case of homeopathics, this might be a high volume of impacted products. Then why don't you automatically transfer national translations from SVG Flex 0 to the suggested replacement? Marketing authorization holder has additional overload of work for already finished tasks. So this is also what we are doing. So this is something that we have noticed based on the latest tickets, that some marketing authorization holders have been struggling with this. So as part of the SVG Flag 0 cleansing, we will also move the translations from the duplicated substance to the replacement substance. Then for the invalid substance records, the SVG Flag 0, what is your recommendation regarding XCVMPD products affected? Some invalid substances do not have replacement in the comments. We need to check one by one for other names from SMS list. So like I've mentioned, the invalid are a very small subset of substance records that do not have a one-to-one replacement. So these were very incorrect registers, records created that simply we cannot replace them all with one substance. It will indeed depend on a product by product. So they are more difficult to address, but these ones are not a priority. So the priority that we want to address first is the duplicates. If you want to correct an invalid substance record, you can always create a ticket, and we will try to suggest a suitable replacement for your product. Then when will herbal substances be cleansed? So we expect to start focusing on this next year, but yeah, I cannot provide you an exact timeline for completion at this moment. Then can we ask for an update the privacy settings once after it has been registered? Initially, it has been submitted with privacy as public. Can this be updated to restricted? So if this was a new substance and you have completed the form incorrectly and the substance should be indeed restricted, then yes, you can create a new ticket to ask this to be updated. However, if the substance is already in the public domain, so if there is an INN, if there is a USAN monograph in any pharmacopoeia, in those cases, no substance names will be registered as restricted because the substance is considered to be in the public domain. Then, what is the difference between SMS ID and RPI available in Iris Portal? So SMS ID is a substance identifier, while RPIs are products. So these are the research product identifier that are used for applications in Iris. So this would be kind of the equivalent of product DV codes in XCVMPD. So RPIs will be linked to SMS IDs, but yeah, they are different entities. Then on slide 14 was a part of the blue line, human substances missing from SMS to XCV-MPD. Otherwise, could you repeat where the substance data to XCV-MPD comes from? So indeed, SMS provides human substances to Vigilance and XCV-MPD. So it comes directly from SMS. In situation where only unspecified substance is listed in the SMPC, is it correct that the unspecified substance should be replaced with a more specific substance if possible, but there is no need to request a substance translation if some attachment is needed in XCV-MPD? So again, this is a very specific scenario with a small subset of substances. So if you do find a more specific replacement, then you can update your product record in XCV-MPD, and the translation will not be an exact match with your SMPC, but usually the replacement substance will, since it's more specific, it will likely be more commonly used, and likely translation in your language will already be there. Then when do EMA plan to start replacing the duplicated substances in XCV-MPD? Is there a timeline for completion? Is there an expectation that marketing authorization holders update the SMPC to align with the replacement substance name? So we have been working on this data fix for quite some time. We hope to do it in the beginning of next year. And there is no expectation to align with this replacement substance name. What are the cases when substances are not related to XCV-MPD products? So there are the human products in XCV-MPD is only one of the consuming systems of SMS. So we do have orphan designations, scientific advice, prime procedures in IRIS. We have veterinary products in UPD. We have substances that are only needed for pharmacovigilance purposes, so coming from ICSRs. So all these cases, the substances are not linked or might not be linked to products in XCV-MPD, but they might be linked to products or procedures in other systems, or they might be very, very old records that were needed in the past for some other system that is now obsolete, and now they are not related to anything. What languages are the substances being translated to? What references are being used to do so? So we do not translate substance names. So we do register translations based on documentation provided either by marketing authorization holders or by NCAs. So we don't proactively translate substance names. We just register translations when requested.
Pedro, can I just do a small pause? I see that there's some questions still unanswered, and it's okay if you continue, but before people start dropping out, because I see the numbers, could you kindly address our poll and tell us what you felt about the webinar, and especially what you think we can still improve for next time? So we thank you very much for joining. We hope we have covered as much as possible the questions. We will be addressing them in writing. And at the moment, we really appreciate if you could give us a little bit of feedback on this webinar, what you enjoyed most, how we can improve. And we will be addressing the questions offline now. So thank you all for joining. Thank you all for your feedback. Hoping to see you at tomorrow's webinar and for the rest of the week as well. Please leave us the feedback and see you soon.
We will leave the survey running until 12:30 if you would like to continue finishing, and then we will switch it off. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for joining. Bye-bye.